All right. Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Kyle Henderson. Tony Sukalis coming to you from Voodoo Wings, now open in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Be sure and come give them a check out. Get some wings. Enjoy tall boys that are 16 ounces and only $2 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Mention that BamaInsider.com sent you over here. Good place. Great wings and a wide variety of wings to choose from. The bomb, mango habanero. I think we both choose. I think you had voodoo the last time, and I had garlic parmesan.
Right. So, I don't know if I'm up for the bomb. That sounds kind of spicy for my taste.
Yeah. We'll let everyone get checked in, but so far it's been a great opening college football season. Alabama now 2-0 on the season, defeating Duke in the opener and defeating New Mexico State last week. What's going on? Appreciate it. Yeah, if you want to call in and make predictions, the line is open 205-686-3604. What's up, man? Thanks for checking in, Tim. Appreciate it. I think it's quite interesting, Tony, going into this Week 3 matchup. That Alabama is a 25-point favorite. Does that surprise you?
I mean, not really. I mean, you look at the scores they've put up, and then South Carolina's got a freshman quarterback. I know he performed really well, but that's about where I'd expect the line to be. I think I had it 34-10, so just a little bit under. But for me, that's about where I expected it.
All right, thanks everyone for checking in. You're listening to the prediction show, or you're watching it rather, right here from Voodoo Wings, now open up in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Come give them some support on Tuesdays and Thursdays. They got those 16-ounce tall boys. I think when you look at this line overall, 25 points, and I think you hit the nail on the head, just that they have a freshman quarterback. Now, he did do a great job in last week against Charleston Southern, but it's like, what can we really learn from that game? I mean, they did have over 700 yards of offense, but, I mean, what did we learn from Alabama and New Mexico State? Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think you probably learned more from their loss to North Carolina than the win over Charleston Southern, just because of the talent level of Charleston Southern. Although it did show that they responded well from a loss. South Carolina's a good team, and that's a really hard place to play. Obviously, Alabama, lost the last time they were there. I know that was 9 years ago, but it does show that, if you don't come and you bring your A game to a game like this, they can pull an upset. I'm not sure if that's going to be the case this week, but, first SEC game, Alabama has a few freshmen on defense. It's going to be, tough to deal with that adversity, and let's just kind of see how they respond. There's definitely a possibility for some struggles. I just don't know if South Carolina has the necessary firepower, especially on offense, to beat Alabama.
I think when you look at this game, I'm kind of curious to really see Alabama's pass rush. Now, Alabama really hasn't had to use a pass rush in the first couple of games, but if Anthony Jennings and Terrell Lewis really have to go, that could be a nightmare for South Carolina's offensive line, and for a freshman having to go against Alabama's superior defensive pass rush. And I think, it's only a matter of time till we really see Raekwon Davis, LeBron Ray, and especially freshman DJ Dell really get after the quarterback. What have you taken away from the pass rush, if anything, through these first 2 weeks?
I think, they haven't had a lot of sacks, but I still think they've done a good job of affecting the quarterback. And Dick Saban talks a lot about that, and I think the players have really bought in. Sometimes, as a pass rusher, you almost, it's hard to not judge yourself by sacks. But Alabama does a lot of things, hitting the quarterback, just getting your hands up, maybe just getting your hands in your face, getting in his head, just anything that they can do to get there, to be in the quarterback's head, to affect him during a pass. That's a successful pass rush, and I think that to that extent they've done better. I think the sacks will come too.
Now, through these first 2 games, Tony, has there been any sort of defensive vulnerabilities in your opinion?
Defensive. There's been mistakes here and there, and I think that could, be exploited maybe in a tighter game or against better competition. They haven't really been tested on defense. There hasn't really been an offense that can really do that. I'm not sure they're going to get that this week as well, but eventually, if you make mistakes, somebody's going to make you pay for them, and so. While Alabama hasn't been bad at all on defense, they have made mistakes here and there, and I think that they just got to kind of clean some things up.
Now, last week we saw Jordan Battle get, his first start. Now, actually, Alabama started 6 freshmen into the 2019 season. 17 freshmen have played overall this season. What are your thoughts on Jordan Battle? I mean, he got some good playing time last week, and it seems like Saban has really been pleased with his performance through 2 weeks.
Yeah, we've seen him inserted into the dime package at safety when Xavier McKinney goes down to the money position, and this week they had Xavier McKinney at money and Shaheem Carter at star, Patrick Surtain and Trayvon Diggs at the 2 cornerback positions, and they had Battle and Maiden back there at the safety position. So he's definitely somebody that Alabama trusts, and to kind of be I guess quote unquote starter if at dime, just playing 2 games. He's shown a lot. He's definitely got the talent there, and is a kid that I think's picking up the defense fast, obviously, or otherwise the coaches wouldn't trust him the way that they do.
Now, I see in the comments everyone's asking about Alfano, and last night we got a almost awkward update from Nick Saban. Said he's disappeared a little bit. We've been tracking it, and Alfano hasn't been in practice, the last, almost week and a half?
It's been like pretty much 2 weeks.
2 weeks
pretty much since the beginning of the season. We really haven't seen him too much during our media availabilities during practice, which leads you to think that he wasn't at practice. Certainly by the way that Nick Saban's talking about him, it doesn't seem like he was at practice. So he's a little bit of a mystery.
He wasn't even at the game.
No, he wasn't at the game. He didn't suit up.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, that he was at the game against Duke. I don't believe I saw him. I definitely didn't see him against New Mexico State. So it's a little bit of a mystery right now. He doesn't seem like he's in. It seems like he's in the doghouse. It's not ever a good thing when Nick Saban says hopefully the team can learn from this guy. That's not a statement you want to hear if you're a player. So.
Yeah, no one. I don't think anyone has pointed this out, but you look at who Alabama has lost this season. So you lose 5-star Yabi Noma, who was from the class 2018, and then you lose. Potentially you're going to lose Antonio Alfano.
Nothing official yet.
Nothing official, but I think the writing on the wall. And then Trey Sanders also out with a foot injury. So those are some big players. None of them are an immediate impact, but I think, at least from what I hear, the coaches really wanted Alfano to stay. And like Tony said, nothing official just yet.
Look, you guys got to consider he's a freshman.
Yeah.
People make mistakes as a freshman. Alabama's not a easy program to just have success as a freshman. I know we just talked about some people that did have success, but it's a tough program. It's a transition for him, and it's a change. So there is a chance that he sticks things out and he gets through it. I just right now it's looking like it's hard on him, and like I said, like you said, the writing is kind of on the wall, and things don't look great concerning him.
And I think when you still sticking with Antonio Alfano, and by the way, we're coming from Voodoo Wings now open here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. The call line is open, by the way, 205-686-3604. Call in. Want to score prediction for Alabama and South Carolina. But the thing with Antonio Alfano, it seems like he had a good spring. Yeah, he had 2 sacks in the spring game, and then it seems like he got off to a good start in fall camp, and then he just regressed as we got closer to the Duke game.
Yeah, I don't know. He never really broke into. You saw the way DJ Dale kind of climbed up the depth chart, and I think a lot of people were expecting Alfano to do that, and he never actually quite got up there. He never really made the push. It takes a lot to do that as a freshman. I think you look at a guy like DJ Dale, and he came in, super in shape and ready to go, and he came in with a plan. And I'm not saying that Alfano didn't come in with a plan, but he definitely is not as prepared as a player like Dale was, and it kind of shows you how difficult. Everyone thinks that just because you're a 5-star, you're going to walk in and and play right away, but it's difficult, and I think that maybe he's struggling with that.
Let's talk about a couple of freshmen that have played already. DJ Dell being one of them. You had a story on him just recently. His play has just been impressive. Last week in Pro Football Focus, he was actually one of the higher graded players from the starting side of the ball with a 77.3 grade out. You have Shane Lee, who's done a fantastic job. Shane Lee had an 83.1 grade out.
Yeah, it's not bad.
I know it's against New Mexico State, but still they're grading him based off technique and a lot of other things. Christian Harris only had 16 snaps last week, but still he did very well in week 1. Other freshmen who have started, Will Reichert, who came back and hit the 2 field goals last week, and then Evan Neill, who we saw. I mean, what's your take on Evan Neill so far? His Pro Football Focus grades have been bad, to say the least, but I mean, what's your take on Evan Neill so far?
I think just, for everyone on the offensive line, it's kind of gelling, and it's getting used to, for Evan Neill, I guess, it's getting used to playing a new position. He was a tackle in high school, and it's also a big talent discrepancy between where he was playing before and playing against in the collegiate level. He's definitely got the physical attributes to perform well. So you generally think that he would put it together. Alabama also has a lot of options on the offensive line, so obviously they trust him over some other people that they also trust. So I think we'll continue to see better performances from Evan Neill as the season goes forward.
What about Killen Robinson? I mean, he had a big run last week for a touchdown. I mean, he's a different back from Najee, from B-Rob. I mean, he's only 185 pounds, but as Saban says, he has a juice, and we saw a little bit of that juice last week.
Yeah, I mean, we saw him bust that 74-yard run. So you're right in the fact that he's different than Najee and Brian both kind of bring that same kind of power. Bruising kind of back. I know Najee can juke a little bit probably more, and Brian's more straightforward, but I think that Keelan can offer that kind of change of pace back, and I think that you might see him used a lot more just because of the difference that he brings to the offense and the variety that that they can feature with him. If they wanted to go to 2-back sets, he'd be a guy that would complement one of those other backs pretty well. So we saw a glimpse of what he can do. It was only 5 carries, but I think we might be seeing more as the season progresses.
As we look to the offensive side of the ball, and by the way, we're coming to you from Voodoo Wings here in Tuscaloosa. Come check them out. Got great wings. They actually have $2 tall boys on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tell them BamaInsider.com sent you. When we look at this offense, scoring over 52 points per game, actually had 318 yards of rushing last week. When we look at the when we look at the running game, some people have been disappointed in the sense, but still Najee and B-Rob still averaging over 5 yards a carry. Is it too early for a sample size from the running backs, or have they been underperforming in your opinion?
I mean, I think they've been underperforming. I know that there's a stat out there that it's one of the lowest yards per carry among starters, among the starting 3 backs in the Saban era. If you look at the running yards, you said 318, but you got to think that 75 of that was the Ruggs pass that was not really a run, but it went behind the line of scrimmage, so it was a run. And then you had the 74-yarder from Keelan Robinson. And even look at Keelan Robinson, right? He had 5 carries. One of them was a 74-yarder, and he ends up with 80 yards. So on those 4 other carries, he got 6 yards. So even as impressive as he looked on that run, he wasn't able to continue and sustain those that level of consistency that I think Alabama is looking for. And I think that's just at times in the past, Alabama's been able to move the ball at will on the ground. And they don't look like they can do that right now.
We're coming to you from Voodoo Wings. Appreciate all the feedback on the comment box. And, I think when you're going into this game against South Carolina as the SEC opener, a lot of people want to see what Alabama can do on the road. The last time Alabama was in Columbia, they actually lost to South Carolina. You have a story coming out tomorrow. Why don't you touch on that story and give a little teaser about what's coming tomorrow in regards to that story?
It's funny because, Nick Saban said that none of the players remember, and they don't. Nobody on this team remembers that game, but there was a lot of lessons from that season. Look at that 2010 team. That was one of the more talented teams that Alabama's had in the Nick Saban era, and it lost 3 games. It's technically the second worst record-wise team that Nick Saban's had at Alabama, which is crazy to think of when you look at the talent. It had a Heisman winner in Mark Ingram, all-pro wide receiver, a future all-pro wide receiver in Julio Jones. You had, C.J. Mosley, Dante Hightower.
The team was stacked.
Yeah, I mean, you had another running back in Trent Richardson. The team was very stacked. Mark Barron. You had so many players on that team. So it's hard to imagine that it's hard to believe that they lost 3 games when you look at it. But I think that was the first season where Alabama, strayed from the process and kind of got complacent. And I think that, they learned from that. This is kind of like the example season they had never really had anything like that since they had gotten good.
I think this team, I mean, on both sides of the football, I mean, it's truly a dynamic team. And I think when we look back, especially at the offense, we're going to say, remember when Alabama had Jerry Jeudy, remember when Alabama had Henry Ruggs, Tua, and so forth, even the offensive tackles. I mean, you could go on and on about guys who are going to be playing in the league. But this team isn't untouchable. No team is untouchable. But when we look at this schedule, I mean, the schedule, to be straightforward, I mean, it's a very weak schedule. And, I mean, you got South Carolina, which we all had circled on just because that's a game away, and we were thinking Tua versus Jake Bentley. Then the next couple games, I mean, Tony, I mean, there's no way around it. I mean, Southern Miss, Ole Miss, Arkansas. I mean, the next big one is against Texas A&M. I mean, the schedule is just, I mean, it's not a very challenging schedule at all.
No, and I think what Alabama has to look at is how are they playing to their standard. I know it sounds like something. Yeah, that's something that Nick Saban said, but it's not going to matter. They're going to beat these kind of. Yeah. They're going to beat these teams by multiple touchdowns. And, that's what I was saying with the 25-point spread against South Carolina. No one's going to be surprised if they cover that. So I think it's really, you've got to look at how they're playing. If they rack up rushing yards, like we mentioned against New Mexico State, are they being able to do that on a consistent basis? Are they being able to put together sustained drives? Are they basically being able to do what they want to do? Because during these games, these next few games coming up, they should be able to pretty much do what they want. So yeah, without sounding cliche, it kind of is how they play up to their standard.
The O-line play, someone just mentioned it right there. O-line has to step up. Saban mentioned there was 2 injury updates regarding the offensive line. Can you update our watchers and on the status of those 2 linemen?
Sure. It looks like Chris Owens is going to play. He's been the first team center during practice, so I'd pencil him in there. He looks like he's going to start, which would move Landon Dickerson back to right guard. And the other one that Nick Saban talked about was Emil Ekiyor, and he looks more like a game time decision. I don't know if I'm as confident that he'll play in this game as I am with Chris Owens. So I think what you're going to look for from the starting lineup on the offensive line would be Alex Leatherwood, Evan Neill. You'll have Chris Owens at center, Landon Dickerson at right guard, and Jedrick Wills at right tackle. That's I think what it's shaping up to be.
Do you think, in your opinion, that with the addition of Deontay Brown, who will join the team after Week 4, do you think that would be an added addition to help this running game really get to the next level? Do you think it'll be that big of an addition?
It matters if what shape he comes back in. That's going to be a big key for him, and then just how other people are playing, because he's still going to have to earn his spot back. I think one way to get him into the offense would be to slide Landon Dickerson to the center position, and then move Deontay Brown into that right guard position. Or if Evan Neill doesn't start picking up, he could slate into that left guard position, which is where he played last year. So, but he's going to have to earn either one of those spots, and so I think he's going to have to come in good shape and kind of fight back for his job.
We've gotten a couple messages here. Go Waddles. I figured that's like Jalen Waddle, and you actually picked him to be the MVP. How dynamic and explosive is Jalen Waddle? I mean, he's obviously one of the most dangerous players in all of college football.
He's definitely one of the most exciting, and he's somebody that can score. I think Jerry Jeudy said it the best. He said he basically can score anytime he touches the ball, and really you almost expect him to score or to make a big play every time he touches the ball. You feel kind of cheated when they don't kick to him in the punting game. It's because you just want to see what he can do with an opportunity. So he's one of my favorite players just to watch from a just entertainment standpoint, and I just expect him to kind of have a good game.
Another defensive lineman that should be back in the fold, and I know a lot of people are excited to see this guy play, and that's Justin Ebogbe. He'll be back in the fold. Do you think that he can make a contribution going forward for this defensive line unit?
Oh, definitely. I wonder how much of an impact he's going to make right away just because he's coming off an injury. But eventually, I think he's going to really help with the depth of this defensive line, which doesn't have a lot of depth, especially if they were to lose a player like Alfano. Depth is going to be a concern on the defensive line, so I think he's going to be somebody that's going to provide. He's going to see a lot of snaps once he gets fully healthy. He's somebody that we've seen even with LeBron Ray was limited on Monday, and we saw Ebogbe work with the first team defense. So he's somebody I think that they trust and somebody that they're going to work in very early, which is another freshman on defense, which is kind of crazy.
Alabama is actually 100% in the red zone. They're 100% against in their first 2 games. And the third down efficiency has been right at 50%. Steve Sarkisian now entering his first year as the offensive coordinator. Have you been pleased, or have you been impressed? Has anything? What are the biggest differences in these first 2 games between him and Mike Locksley, in your opinion?
I think mostly just you're seeing less RPOs and you're seeing more short passes, short, quick passes, getting the ball out quicker. I think it'd be interesting to see when he goes up against a defense that's gonna really challenge Alabama. It'd be interesting to see how they handle adverse situations because. It's just been, I kind of want to see when they can't move the ball, how they're going to attempt to get out of that. But I think it's been working so far. I mean, granted, it's been against Duke and New Mexico State, but, you can't argue with the production that they've put up. I think they had 603 yards last game, so you can't turn your nose up at that.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, I think you've seen a more controlled offensive approach that has been heavy on time of possession, which I think is critical because I think last year the team was so explosive, and this team could still be so explosive. I mean, Alabama could really score on every single opportunity they get, but that's not always a good thing when you start to play better competition because that means your defense is more out on the field. And I think with Steve Sarkisian's new short passing tree, it's enabled Tua to become even more efficient, which I think has been great for the offense. And if they do figure out this running attack, it's only going to be better suited for a time of possession, which I think is great come the later part of their grunt of their schedule.
And look, Tua's great, but he doesn't have to be the guy all the time with this offense. He can get the ball to his receiver on a short pass, make a good decision, and let the receiver do the work. Alabama has so many athletic options at receiver. During his his radio show earlier tonight, Nick Saban called this receiving core the best he's had. So get these guys the ball and let them do the work. Let them make the plays. Jerry Jeudy, let him juke somebody out. Waddle, let him juke somebody out. And I think life's going to be a lot easier for Alabama's offense if they're able to do that.
We're coming to you from Voodoo Wings. Got our first call of the night. Okay. Hello, you're on the line with Kyle Henderson and Tony Sakalas. We're coming to you from Voodoo Wings. Who are on the line with tonight? Hello?
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 Hey, what's up, buddy? You're on the line.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm Austin. I was actually had something I was actually thinking about that's going on in college football. I had to kind of didn't know if we thought it could end up that way too. I know Jeremy Pruitt's having a tough go at it so far with Tennessee, but if somehow his career keeps going the way it is with Tennessee, do you see him possibly going back to Alabama, honestly?
Carl, you can go first on that one.
Thanks for the call, by the way. I appreciate you calling in. Do you have a score prediction before we start for this Alabama-South Carolina game?
Yeah, I think the running game is going to be going pretty good, and it's just going to be a balanced offensive attack, and it's going to be probably 49-14.
49-14. All right, cool. Yeah, great. Yeah, just water, circle. Yeah. Staff at Voodoo Wings hooking us up. I think when you look at Jeremy Pruitt, I mean, will he be back at Alabama? Who knows? I mean, it seems like everybody makes their way back to Alabama. What's going on at Tennessee right now? I have no idea. I mean, other than it's been a train wreck for the start of the season. Is Jeremy Pruitt on the hot seat? Probably if they lose this game to Chattanooga. I mean, I was cruising through VolQuest and check this out. I saw that it was the most hilarious post on their message board. It said, if we beat Chattanooga, do we tear down the goalposts? I mean, talk about dire straits, right?
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting to me because Jeremy Pruitt loaded up. He got T. Martin, who was an OC, and he also got Derek Ansley, who was also here at Alabama. So I don't know. I mean, if they can't win at Tennessee and you look at their schedule, it's only going to get more challenging after this Chattanooga game. Is he going to come back to Alabama? Probably, just because he does have original ties here. But they're in a world of hurt at Tennessee, and it's only a matter of time till Alabama gets their hands on them at Bryant-Denny Stadium. What do you think, Tony?
It's definitely not coming back as a head coach, as some people had thought maybe in the future.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to come back. I think he'll get opportunities somewhere else if it doesn't work out with Tennessee because he's done so well as a defensive coordinator. But he's not doing really well right now. He's definitely taking a turn in the wrong direction. There were times last season where you thought, okay, some of those upset wins that he had last season, and just the good performances. You thought maybe he was going to turn it around this season, but I mean, I don't see them making a bowl game this year, and so 2 straight years, no bowl game. What is he really showing that he can do? So, yeah, like Kyle said, I think he's a little bit on the hot seat, and I'm just not sure what direction the Tennessee program's going in.
What about Butch Jones? He's like got it. I mean, he talk about dodging a bullet, right? He dodged this season like the Matrix. Anything else while you're on the line, buddy?
I think honestly, it's going to be more like finding out like bits and pieces who's going to be on permanently on defense. So like, I think it'll be Sean Lee, and then it'll be I believe Terrell Lewis, and there's that guy that was on defense that's supposed to be on that was injured. What was his name?
Supposed to be on the defense. Oh, you talking about Shaheem Carter, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, Shaheem Carter's been back at star in practice, which he's been more of a reserve in the first 2 games. So it seems like he might kind of pin down a starting role moving forward. So
I think honestly our secondary is more in depth than I've seen in a while, probably since Minka was here.
Yeah, there's a lot of options. This week they've moved Trayvon Diggs and Patrick Surtain to the cornerback positions and had Shaheem at star. That's kind of like what I thought that they were going to do at the beginning of the year. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how that nickel formation plays out, and then just how Jordan Battle does. Because like we talked about him before.
One guy I'm really looking forward to that once he gets on the field and gets more playing time, he will be a star, is Jalen Armour-Davis.
Oh, definitely,
I love his highlights in high school football, and he's going to be a elite corner once he's out there.
He's definitely somebody they have in the 2 deep, and if you'll see him kind of rotate in later in games, and hey, if somebody goes down, he's the guy that can kind of answer that call. So yeah, I do think that Jalen Armour-Davis has a bright future, and he's somebody that I think Alabama sees that as well.
Hey, well, thank you so much for calling. Please call again. We really appreciate the call tonight.
All right, thank you. You have a great day.
All right, take it easy, buddy. All right, just like that. 205-686-3604. Call line is open. Jalen Armour-Davis. I mean, he's a player last year, had an ACL injury, but he's back. He's just like Tony said, he's looked good repping with the 2. So he's a guy certainly is going to get some playing time this coming season. I think when you look at the secondary, I mean, in my opinion, I do like when you have Trayvon Diggs and Patrick Surtain out at the corner positions. I think when you are playing a potent offense, that's definitely what you got to go with. Xavier McKinney at the nickel position, I think they're trying to figure out who can.
You mean Shaheem Carter? Yeah.
Yeah, it's Shaheem Carter. Or we got another call coming in. Here we go. Hey, what's going on? You're on the line with Kyle and Tony. Thanks for calling. Who are we on the line with?
Hello?
Hello?
Hey, what's up, buddy? You're on the line, man. How's it going?
Oh, hey, this is Rob in Colorado.
Hey, man. What's up, Rob? How you been, man? I've been wondering when you're gonna call in again. Jeez, it's been too long.
Kyle, I missed you, man.
I missed you too, Rob.
You.
I missed you too.
Got a little bromance going on.
Dude, bromance. Yeah, Rob would always call. He would tell me about, he'd be drinking like a 6-pack in the afternoon. Where was the burger place you went to? Smash Burger.
Smash Burger.
I told you. I remember, Rob. So what's up, man? What's on your mind, Rob? Glad to hear you're still around. Jeez.
I'm here. It's my first time calling in for the season.
All right, man. So season starts for you in week 3. What do you think about this matchup coming up on Saturday? Give us a score prediction, first of all.
I'm going to do, for a score prediction, I'm going to do Bama 52, South Carolina 14. They get an early touchdown and they get a late touchdown because we got the secondary and the third guys in, the 2s and 3s in.
Not a lot of respect for South Carolina in these predictions.
I mean, 25. Vegas knows what's going on. You can't bet against Vegas. So
Vegas knows.
So what's up, Rob? What's been your assessment of the Crimson Tide through the first 2 weeks of play?
Kyle, I just want to know, like, how you guys feel about. Look, I have nightmares of Justin Ross catching one-handed catches over Savion Smith and Patrick Surtain. I don't know who the other tall guy was, but I just have nightmares, bro. I need to know, are we ready to go in there? Because we didn't hear a lot about Clemson's offensive line, and they held up long enough for Lawrence to throw those bombs downfield. So I just want to know, is our secondary ready?
I think part of the problem with Clemson, too, you got to consider is they were, without Christian Miller, or Alabama was without Christian Miller. They were without Terrell Lewis. They were out some of their pass rushers that could really make a difference in that game, that could get to Trevor Lawrence. I do think that this Alabama secondary is improved from last year. You didn't have Trayvon Diggs on that team against Clemson. So I think it's got those big cornerbacks that could really, match up well against the big Clemson receivers. But there's still some work in progress that's going to be needed to go up against a team of that caliber. So Alabama's still in a growing stage. You'd expect them to get better by the end of the season, and they're going to need to if they're going to go up against a team like Clemson.
Yeah, and I think to touch on that, I think just as I was saying before you called in, I mean, Trayvon Diggs is a big dude. I mean, 6'2", 210 pounds. Patrick Surtain on the outside, I mean, he's similar size, 6'2", 210 pounds. Those are big corners, and I think what Nick Saban is doing is he's playing those big corners because these physical wide receivers that you can match up with towards the end of the season. I mean, look at LSU's wide receivers. I mean, those guys certainly balled out against Texas. And Joe Burrow, I mean, it looks like he's really improved. And I think you got to get ready in the secondary. It looks good. You got Jared Maiden, Xavier McKinney, whoever's going to be that star position. But there are enough guys in the backfield to be ready for an offensive attack. But LSU certainly has impressed, along with Kellen Mund's passing attack at Texas A&M. I know they didn't have the greatest showing against Clemson, but they certainly have some wide receivers. Actually, South Carolina has a very good wide receiver, Brian Edwards, who's graded out very well, and I think he's going to be a good challenge for either Diggs or Patrick Surtain. What else you got, Rob?
I just wanted to touch on, I think DJ Dale might be, by his third year, he's probably going to be better than Quentin Williams.
That's saying a lot.
I mean, think about it. I mean, we don't even talk about Daron Payne anymore. Remember, like Daron Payne, he just got completely erased from our memory when Quentin Williams came through.
And I think,
you're right.
Remember what Daron Payne was doing? He was throwing defensive linemen up in the air, and then he just got erased. And then Quentin Williams comes with his braces, and he's just like a superstar. And look at his personality; it's bigger than the world. So, DJ Dell certainly just balling out already as a freshman. I can't even believe some of the grades that he's posted, and I know it's against Duke and New Mexico State. I hate saying that, but DJ Dell, he's putting in the work. We saw your video, Tony. So DJ Dell, I mean.
Yeah, I think he actually compares more to Daron Payne, and I think we also, like you said, forget how good Daron Payne was. But he's a guy that trained with both those guys, with both Daron Payne and Quentin Williams. Alabama just so successful with these Birmingham defensive linemen. So I do think he's next in line of being that potential first-round pick. And I think, by his third season, I think we're talking at least a guy that has the, you don't want to put too much on him right now, but a guy that has the potential to be a first-round pick, come 2 more years.
Keep it going, Rob. What else you got for us, man?
I can't even remember. Maybe you can because you know him a bit more than me. I can't remember the last time a freshman started at defensive line. I'm sorry. I can't remember it. The fact that he's starting is incredible. So he got to be good.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I knew this at one point. I think
Do we have to phone a friend?
Yeah, I
We're
think
gonna have to phone a friend who's like.
I can't remember.
Yeah, did Deshaun start a little bit late? I don't know.
I don't know. Whatever.
I think Deshaun might have started. Yeah.
I
think I had this in my story too. It's not coming to my head.
DJ Dell is a complete baller, and I'm really happy to see his success. I mean, he got here in December of 2018. I mean, really, you could say he's almost a sophomore with the amount of time that he's been here. So he's really balling out. Anything else, Rob? It sounds like you're going through a car wash.
Sorry about that. Hey, yeah, all right. I'm gonna ask one more question, and I'm gonna hang up and let you hear it. And I'm gonna hear it on the show.
Okay.
Do you think Dylan Moses is gonna stay, or is he gonna go? He's got the talent. Is he gonna go to the NFL?
All right. Thanks, Rob. Please call again, man. We'll answer on the other line.
Sure.
All right, Rob in Colorado, one of my favorite callers. I should do a top caller ranking list. Rob would definitely be at the top, him and Mike in Kentucky. What do you think, Dylan Moses, stay or go?
It's tough because I don't think he's going to be back in time for the combine, and it's one of those things you definitely don't want to rush through this injury to kind of show NFL scouts. You don't want to re-injure it trying to get back in time to go through the combine. And if he can't do that, you think maybe he comes back. So we're getting another call, but he's a guy that has the potential to be a first-round pick. I just don't know if he'll get that this year.
How's it going? You're on the line with Kyle and Tony Zukalis. Who are we on the line with tonight?
Hunter.
How's it going, Hunter? Good to hear from you, buddy. Can you make a score prediction real quick?
Yeah, I think I'm going to say 28-7.
28-7. Okay, on the a little bit of
okay. That's
conservative
more
side.
realistic.
Yeah. All right, Hunter. What's on your mind tonight, buddy? Go ahead.
Yeah. So, what do y'all think about the run game so far? I think it's been spotty at times, and I haven't seen what I want to see out of Najee Harris.
I definitely would want to see more from Najee Harris. I know we were all expecting him to have, kind of a breakout season this year. He finally got that starting role, and he hasn't been able to, like we said before, put up those consistent numbers on the ground. It seems like he's missing his holes. He's trying to dance a little bit too much in the backfield. So it's something that you kind of want to see him kind of hit his holes and be a little bit more disciplined in his running approach, because I think he's definitely a guy that has potential to be an absolute star if he puts it all together.
Yeah, I do too. And one more thing. Do you think we'll see John Mechie more and more as the season goes on, or do you think the depth chart is just against him right now?
He definitely has the talent. I think, Nick Saban spoke glowingly of him tonight during the radio show. It's just the fact that there's so many people above him. I mean, you've got 4 receivers that are all above him. And then you got guys like Tyrell Shavers who can kind of provide something different with his height. So I do think that John Mechie gets into the game. It's going to be later because, you're not taking out Jerry Jeudy or Henry Ruggs or Devontae Smith or, Jalen Waddle for him. So it's just a matter of just kind of balancing those snaps.
Anything else, Hunter? We appreciate you calling in, man. Anything else?
I've been impressed with Jordan Battle so far, and I want to see more of him, and I think we will, especially against the Southern Miss and some of those other non-conference teams. But we may be getting to see him this week, maybe in a dime package.
Definitely, yeah, and you're going to see him a lot up against teams that pass a lot, naturally, yeah, because he's going to be out of that dime package. I think he's a guy that's really on the up and somebody that's going to be a difference maker for this team.
Hey, thank you so much for calling Harper. I almost called you Jordan Harper. And your name is Hunter, so my bad on that. Maybe it's getting that time. But please call again, Hunter, and we appreciate you calling in tonight.
Thank you, man. Bye-bye.
Take it easy. All right, 205-686-3604 is the number to call in. My name is Kyle Henderson, along with Tony Zukalis, coming to you from Voodoo Wings. Voodoo Wings, you got to check them out. Now open in Tuscaloosa, good location right by Bryant-Denny Stadium. Nothing goes better than wings in college football. Tomorrow will be a great day if you're not going to Columbia, South Carolina, to call up Voodoo Wings. Come in, get your wings, get your college football on. What other? Have you even checked what other games are going on this weekend? It doesn't seem like there's a lot of
You got Georgia, Notre Dame. That's a good one.
Notre Dame.
I don't know. It's 2 top 10 teams.
Wait, no, Georgia and Notre Dame don't play.
Oh, that's next week.
No, Notre Dame plays.
Oh, Jesus.
You know what?
Yeah.
The only reason I know this is because Notre
week.
Dame plays New Mexico.
Oh, yeah, it's next week. Sorry, guys.
All right, here we go.
Got excited
there.
there.
Time, right? Hey, what's going on? You're on the line with Kyle Henderson and Tony Zukalis. Who are we on the line with tonight?
Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Tim Grant calling from North Carolina.
Hey, what's up, man? Good to hear from you tonight. Can you make a score prediction, please?
I say 42-17.
Okay.
42-17. All right, good. So what's on your mind tonight, man? Go ahead, shoot.
Not much, man. I'm kind of disappointed in the offensive line, offense in general. I personally feel like because of the competition, due to the competition that we played, our offensive line should have had better push during the running attempt. Um, More movement. I just feel like we're not getting the push, and combine that with the thing with Najee Harris not hitting the hole, trying to bounce it outside on a lot of plays, and I also think that Brian Robinson should get more attempts. Um, you know, not only down by the goal line and for short yardage, but during the whole process of the game.
It's to be fair though, Brian Robinson also hasn't hit. It's been a collection of everybody kind of not doing their job because Brian Robinson also hasn't always hit his holes either. So it's definitely a combined effort of people that all need to get better.
But I think I agree. I agree with the fact that I'd just like to see Brian Robinson just get the start and just see what he can do. I really just
get more opportunity.
I just want to see because I believe that he could be the guy, but it's just like they keep him second fiddle again. It's like if him and Najee are equal backs, like let's see what Brian Robinson can really do when he gets 20 carries, for example. And I think over the last couple years, it's been a little bit frustrating watching the running backs because, and I get it, there's a lot of mouths to feed, but they don't let a running back develop a true rhythm. As soon as a guy busts off a nice run, okay, you're out, get another guy in. And that works out well because look at Joshua Jacobs. Look how fresh he is and look what he's doing. But I really want to see Brian Robinson, what he can do. It seems like he can do it, but it just doesn't seem like he gets a lot of opportunities. Getting to your initial point, though, with the offensive line, I do think they've played down to their competition a little bit, but I also think that Kyle Flood and Nick Saban are trying to figure out the best rotation, but maybe the best rotation isn't there because Deontay Brown isn't there, and Landon Dickerson was his first time at center, so maybe as the offensive line moves forward, they'll develop more continuity, but right now it's just been kind of like ho-hum and nothing really to write home about, and these guys, with the size that they have, really you'd think they'd be pushing defensive back, especially New Mexico State. It seems like they've been pushing them back to New Mexico. But so far it's kind of just been like, they've kind of been just kind of going through the motions, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah.
What else is on your mind, man?
That's it. Also on the defensive side, I know we got you got those three freshmen on the field. I'm just looking forward to the defense of getting back to that killer mentality. I can remember Reggie Ragland a few years ago when we had, I can't remember why, but it was because of our defensive play. I think we lost in the playoffs or whatever, and he was saying that the defense need to get back to the mentality where we need to make people scared to play us again. So, and I know those younger guys are going to develop, and I think they got the guys in the right place. Those two freshman linebackers are going to be those aggressive type players, and that'll come up and really hit somebody. I just want to see our defense get back to that no kidding dominant state.
I definitely think it has the potential to do that. I think it's just there's so many growing players on this defense that, when you look at past defenses that had more established stars, Alabama doesn't have that right now. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think it's just, there's a lot of young players that are developing into those roles. So I think it's one of those things I think we can kind of judge that statement at the end of the season. How intimidating are they going to be by the time they play LSU? I think that will be the real key for this season.
I'm kind of ready though for a big hit. Someone like Shane Lee. I'm ready for Shane Lee to grab somebody and really treat them like the child that they look like. Because Shane Lee, the biggest pipes on the team. He's an
grown man.
Yeah, exactly. I'm ready to see him really take a running back down to the ground. I'm ready for Terrell Lewis. And I think so far the most exciting play of this whole season might be when Terrell Lewis got to the quarterback against Duke, right?
Yep.
When he got to when he got there, I was like, oh my goodness, that's a top 10 pick right there. But they really haven't had to unleash him just yet, and I think they will. But they didn't want to kill Josh Adkins from New Mexico State, thankfully. So I think we're gonna see it. It might be Ryan Helinski who gets the brunt of it, just because I think you have to send a message in SEC play, and now these teams are more comparable, so you let them pin their ears back a little bit more. Anything else while you're on the show?
Um, one last thing.
Okay.
I really don't want to do this on this show, but talk about a different team. And I'm gonna say this, and I'll let you guys go. Um, I'm getting tired of hearing about Trevor Lawrence. Not to take anything from him, he's a good player. But when it comes to the game that we played against him, in my opinion, is we made that game way too easy for him. And, or it could be just that, his offensive line really protected him. He didn't make any mistakes, but in my opinion, he had no pressure. We had no pressure on that guy the whole game. Hey, I enjoyed talking to you guys. Love your show, and I'll stay following you.
All right, man. Thanks for calling
Yeah,
in. Go ahead, Tony. What's your thoughts on
I don't want to take
Trevor?
anything away from Trevor Lawrence because I think he's a hell of a quarterback, and I think he had a great game against Alabama. But I think it's a fair point to state that he did not get a lot of pressure during that game. Like we mentioned before, I think that the loss of Christian Miller was key to that game. I think, had he played a full-strength Alabama, could he still have won? Certainly. But I don't think he puts up those kind of numbers. That being said, I can't say enough good things about him, and I think he's a potential star and definitely an NFL quarterback in the future.
Yeah, I think, like the last caller brought up, I mean, there was that play where Savion Smith just completely checked out, and that was an easy pass. You look at the pass that he threw to Justin Ross. I mean, that ball was going out of bounds, and Justin Ross just made an incredible play. I mean, we're going to see him in the league. And then you also look at Trevor Lawrence, the way he started in these first couple games. I had a graphic that I put up just recently. You look at quarterbacks, Justin Fields, you look at Jalen Hurts, you look at Tua Tagovailoa, you look at Joe Burrow. All those guys have been in the 85 to 90% pro football focus grade outs in weeks 1 and 2, and Trevor Lawrence is actually 53. So he actually has a couple interceptions to start the season. I know they played Texas A&M, but he didn't play that shining against Georgia Tech in the opener. So like Tony, I think he's going to be first round pick in the 2021 draft. There's no reason to doubt that he's going to lead Clemson as far as he can, just because Clemson does have an incredible set of wide receivers and just an overall great team. And I think that's certainly going to be a team in the college football Final Four. But I think that's a good point to end on, and we certainly appreciate the calls the later part of the show. You guys can definitely come check out Voodoo Wings. Tony will be checking in from Columbia, South Carolina, and I'll be back home taking care of different items as we get through week 3 of the college football season. Come check out Voodoo Wings, and of course check out BamaInsider.com. There's a free promo code at BamaInsider.com. The promo code is Roll Tide. That is one word. My name is Kyle Henderson. He's Tony Sokalis, coming to you from Voodoo Wings in Tuscaloosa. Until next time, friends. Talk soon.
See you guys.